Alright, so, got some coffee. You guys have questions. So, I'm going to try to get through them, starting with the most recent first, because that's how YouTube does my comments here. I could go the other way, but stuff might get weird. Just going to take a break from these real quick, because, that's time consuming. So, let's go through these airbrush questions. Alright, so first of all, though, if you were one of the many people who said thank you, you're welcome. I'm not going to say it every time. And if I butcher your name, sorry. So, most recently, Phil Nolan wants to know what kind of paint is used. I am using Apple Barrel. This one hadn't been opened. I'm using Apple Barrel or what's the other one called? Folk Art. They're both made by Plaid. They're just cheap acrylic paints. The acrylic paints that come in like the big tube that you see like artists use when they do like the putty knife or whatever. That probably work too. It's just a little thicker, so you'd have to thin it more. Thanks for the video. Oh, sorry. Janet Watkins says, thanks for the video. Have you done a review on the airbrush, or do you link it somewhere? Yeah. So I did do a video review on the brush itself. I'll link it up one of these sides. Do I have a link to it somewhere? No, I don't, because the Road Tech that I have is not available anymore. Like if I go to my Amazon orders and click on it, it says unavailable. It's this one here. But the thing is, with these brushes, there's like probably, without exaggerating, about 100 different ones on Amazon that all look exactly like this. If it looks like this, that's going to be your brush. So let's go to the next one. Swag wants to know, does paint thinner also work? Yeah, you could use paint thinner, but just make sure that you get one that is for an acrylic paint and not one for enamels, because the acrylic and enamel don't like each other, and neither do their thinner. So if you're going to use paint thinner, make sure you use one that is rated for acrylic paints. CSF? I don't know, some of these I don't know if YouTube messed up the name or not. But anyway, says, I'm looking for a cheap airbrush for my models. Is this a good one to start with, as I keep seeing people say you need to buy ones with a compressor and tanks. Budget is limited. Okay, so as far as the brush itself goes, it's compared to the ones that have the compressors and the tanks and all that stuff. The way this one works is this little thing here. This is your battery and your air compressor. It sprays air out of the nozzle at a constant rate, and all this does is lower the paint from the pot into the stream of air. So you cannot adjust how hard or fast the air is coming out, but you can adjust how much paint you get. With the fancy, nicer ones that have the compressor and all the other little toggles and stuff, that one you can adjust how much air is coming out, and that is important if you're going to get into like Miniac levels of painting. But for what I do, I don't really need that. So can you use this for minis? Sort of. We'll get to that more later, because I did see a couple questions that were asking about that. So yeah, this is, if you couldn't tell, this is off the cuff. I didn't rehearse any of this, so yeah, this is me unedited. Let's see. Vincent at 70 says, I am using a Posh H series, and I tried this with acrylic paint, but I seem to get that spiderweb type of spray. Can anyone help, please? Okay, so the spiderweb spray is because your paint's too thick. You need to thin it out more. If you're using acrylics, they're water-based, so you can use water and or alcohol, which is what I used to link up here somewhere. Somebody asked, KK Puppy 2005 asked, do I need a ball bearing to put in the bottle to mix it up? No, you can use marbles and nuts and all kind of stuff. If you use rattle cans at all, they have marbles in them. Sorry, that's noisy. Rattle cans have these glass marbles in them. You can use these. This is what I use. I just take the ones out of the rattle cans. Be careful doing that, because sometimes when they're out of paint, they still have compression, so don't just go poking a hole in it. You could get sprayed. But yeah, if you take the marbles out of your rattle cans, that works really well, and they're free, so why not? And yeah, you could use nuts or ball bearings, anything like that. I don't know that I would use metal ball bearings, because I'm not sure how that might react with the paint. So try to stick to glass marbles or something. Depending on the time of year, you can sometimes buy a bag of marbles from the dollar store, and that'll work just fine. Somebody's name that I cannot read because I don't know what that language is. Says, hello, I have an Iwata, and the problem is when I want to make a fine line, I cannot get the color out. When I press the trigger more, a lot of color comes out. I do not use special colors for airbrushes, just use oil colors and dilute them with petrol. Please help. Thanks. Okay. So I don't use oil colors or enamels, so I don't know if using a petroleum-based product is the way to thin them or not. So push the trigger, a lot of color comes out. Yeah. So see if I can show you. I'm not sure if it's show or not, but there is a little that direction. There's a little thing inside this cup here that is attached to the needle and everything. And when you pull it, it moves that thing back, and then the needle that you cannot see comes back out of the way and opens up the hole for the paint to come out. So yes, pulling the trigger makes more paint come out. If you're trying to do a fine line and you can't get it to work, that's probably your nozzle, which I'll get to that in a little bit too. It's this little piece here on the very end that controls what shape the paint comes out. So there's a needle there and there's the nozzle. So yeah, you'd want a finer nozzle is meant for doing fine line. Mandy Apps. Thank you so much for this. I'm a beginner to the airbrush and get so confused about thinning water-based acrylics. It's not too hard to thin water-based acrylics. Like you mentioned, they are water-based, so just add more water and alcohol. That helps. The thing I think that messes most people up trying to thin out the acrylics is that they don't want to thin. They're very thick, so you need to use something like stiff stencil brush, so you can actually like poke at the paint to get it to mix in really well. Because just trying to stir it doesn't work very well, and shaking it, you have to have an agitator like a ball bearing or something in there to make it good, get loose when you shake it up. You got to shake it a lot, so like a professional shaking machine, or just watch an episode of Friends or whatever while you're shaking the bottle, because it's going to take a while unless you stab it with a stencil brush. Was that the last one on that page? No, it wasn't. Darren Gurney. So how do you go about cleaning it before a color change? Okay, so all I do, if I'm just changing colors, this is not putting it away, this is just changing colors, is I pour water in here, and then I mix it in with my finger, and I put my finger over the end and pull the thing to make the air go back up through to try and get all the paint loosened. Dump it out, run some clean water through it, and as long as there's not enough left over in there to actually mix with the new color, or it's not like opposite ends of the color spectrum or something, that's all you really got to do to clean it between color changes. When you put it away, that's completely different. You want to disassemble this thing and actually clean out all the little nozzle bits and stuff. You can also use alcohol if the paint's being stubborn. Philip Wilkinson, can it produce a fine speckle effect? Yeah, it certainly can, and you may not want it to. It will do that if the paint's too thick. If you wanted to do that on purpose, you could do it with the paint too thick, but you're going to run the risk of clogging the nozzle. You could also just pull the trigger a tiny little bit, just enough to make some come out, and it might speckle, but maybe not quite the effect you're looking for. For doing speckles, I like to use a reasonably stiff brush, kind of like this. The flat ones are really good. Get way too much paint on the end of it, and then just do that. You'll speckle stuff everywhere. Really good for blood effects and that kind of stuff. I'm actually going to move my monitor here to below the camera so I don't keep looking off to the side of the screen. Looks like I'm looking at you still. This thing won't move. Jeez. All right. Philip Wilkinson again. Might be part of the same comment thread, I'm not sure. Could you tell me what adjustment there is? Is it just the spray width that can be adjusted? Okay, so no, you cannot adjust the width with the default thing. That's the nozzle here. What you can adjust, though, is this right here, which is going to adjust your trigger, how far back it's able to go. So if you wanted to not have to worry about having any sort of control over how far you're pulling that back, you just want to just crank on it and go, but without dumping a whole pot of paint, you can adjust this thingy, and there's an internal adjustment in here, squeaky, right here. This is the lock nut that holds the needle in the thing. You can adjust that to adjust the needle too. So like you could pull it out ever so slightly so that it's always spraying paint, which I don't recommend, but you could if you wanted to. But yeah, and you got this nut here, which also adjusts And that will control how much pulling the trigger back actually puts paint out. That's pretty much your only base adjustment on the default one, but if you were to buy extra nozzles, then yeah, you could adjust it to do a spray, like a fan spray or whatever nozzles are available. I think the threads are all pretty universal, unless like some companies got some kind of special thing because they want you to buy their stuff. You ask again, so what is the adjustment dial on the back of the gun for? Yeah, it's to adjust how far the trigger goes. Because like right now, you can see this, it goes all the way back, right? So if I screw this thing in, it won't really move. That's because this thing adjusts how far the trigger will go back. There you go. That's what that's for. Randy Borke. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Excellent video, but get rid of the piano. People come to listen to you and not hear the music or piano. Okay. Noted. So what's going on is I have, when I edit, I have a speaker system attached to my computer over there, and it's a really good speaker system, and then I also have pretty decent headphones, and they sound wildly different. And then I'll watch the video again on my cell phone, and that sounds different again. So I have no idea what the sound actually sounds like. What's going on is this microphone is at 1, sometimes I'll crank it up to 2 volume if like I was talking too quiet or something, and then the music is set to 0.7. Or 0.07. There you go, less than 10%. So 7% volume on the music. If it's too loud, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I could turn it down some more, maybe. But I do the music because I don't like dead space. I don't want the music really that noticeable while I'm talking. Anytime I'm dead air, All right, so Luna Leia says, I'm sorry if I missed it being answered. I didn't see it in the website linked, or I didn't see it in the website you linked, but any chance you could link the airbrush that you use? Yeah, so the Road Tech one, the one if I go to my orders, it's unavailable. But like I said, just search for, I think it's like portable airbrush or something like that, or just put airbrush. Any of them that look like this that are in like the $30 to $50 range, it's the same brush. It doesn't matter whose stamp's on it. James Butler says, thanks for sharing. Great tip on low budget, but I do have questions for you. Does it matter how much percentage of alcohol you get? I got 71%. Does it really matter compared to 93? No. So you saw in the last video, I was using this that I used to help clean my resin minis, the 99% stuff. It really doesn't matter. Anything between 60 and 90, or 60 and 100, I guess, whatever, is totally fine. The only thing is if your paint's drying too quickly, like it's just dry before it even hits the thing you're painting, you probably have too much alcohol. So if it's the percentage that you're worried about and it's a really high percentage, you can up it. If it's lower, then just adjust. Start with equal parts water and alcohol and adjust from there. Rob Mahebe, man. Sorry, guys. Anyway, can you use this for artwork on a motorcycle, or can you use this for artwork on a motorcycle for artwork and clear coat after? Yeah, you could actually. A lot of auto body detailer guys use stencils. They have like like the ones you'd use in school. It's the plastic deal, you cut the thing out, or it's a vinyl you stick on and you peel out the design and then you spray over the stencil, because auto body shops use the big sprayer guns. So yeah, you totally could use this for doing auto body details and motorcycles and whatnot, and definitely clear coat afterwards. As far as the paint used, I don't know how this would cooperate with automotive paint, because that can be thick. Some of it's got glitter, metallic fleck, or whatever. That would be my only hang-up, really, because I don't know that acrylic paint would really hold up very well for that kind of use, but you could certainly try it. It would work. It would paint it. I don't know how all the paint would hold. That's the thing. Let's see. Night Owl says, I tried this using spray paint from the can after I punctured a hole in it. The paint went out well, but cleaning the airbrush actually took half a day to clean. Yeah, don't put rattle can paint in your airbrush. That's not going to be good. I do sometimes paint with rattle cans, or like use a paintbrush with the rattle cans. That's also a bad idea. It'll ruin your brush. What you're going to do is you're going to take your spray paint, and you take like a little plastic shot glass. You buy 100 of these from the dollar store, and you spray some spray paint into the shot glass, and then use it that way with a paint brush. Don't use the airbrush. So yeah, rattle can paint in your airbrush is a terrible idea. Don't do that. Lawrence says, would this work with any acrylic paints? Yeah, as far as I know, you just got to thin it enough to go through. The apple barrel stuff, equal parts water, alcohol, and paint seems to work pretty well. You might need a little bit more, a little bit less, depending, because like my gray that I had out earlier, that one's pretty thin. But then, come on, this red one, that I've had the same bottle for like 2 or 3 years now. But this cardinal red is the thickest stuff. It is so weird. I don't know why the red in particular is like gooey, but it's thick. So this one would require more thinning. So yeah, just start a little less paint than you think you might need and adjust from there. Because even among the same name brand, the paints are different thicknesses. So yeah, whatever acrylic you want to use, just thin it enough. Game On says, I didn't realize you were famous. Thanks, Justin, but I don't think I am. Lady Amalthea, thank you for this. I am new to airbrushing. I was wondering if I could use these paints on a mask I'm doing for Halloween. Yeah, you can totally use acrylics and whatnot for using like cosplay masks and that kind of thing. I do not do cosplay stuff, so I'm not real sure what paint they use. Actually, you could check out Punished Props Academy. They do a lot of the cosplay stuff, and then KamuiCosplay. Sorry, I probably butchered her name. She does some of the most awesome cosplay stuff I've ever seen. So if you wanted cosplay advice, I would definitely recommend checking them out. I will try to remember to link them below. Leah Nelson wants to know, is this safe to use for body painting? Well, like the machine itself is safe. As far as the paint, though, you're going to want to use like actual body paints, or food coloring, I guess would work, but that would dye your skin for weeks. But yeah, the machine's fine. You would have to use actual body paints, though. Not the finger kind, that'd be way too thick. Crafter's Forge says, hey, great video. I use cheap paints with my airbrush on my channel. Cheers. Thanks. I actually have my response printed out too. I said I'll go check it out. Honestly, dude, I haven't checked out your channel yet. I need to go do that. I'll make a note of that and set this one aside so I can remember to go do that. Dr. JJ, thank you for the video. I would be happy if you would answer me. Can you use your airbrush on car paint for small things? Let's say painting the rims just one by one. My question is about how big an area it can spray, etc. Can you make a video about it, test it on white paper, something like that? Well, I'm not going to make a whole video next. I'm not going to paint a car, but this thing here, when I was spraying that dude in that last video, it kind of went away. Anyway, I always test spray my paints on the thing to make sure it's flowing right and all that stuff. And it makes a little spot about the size of an American dime, which is, it's small. It's a half the size of a mini base. So that's about the size it comes out. So trying to use that on an entire car rim, I probably wouldn't. You could. It would take a very long time, but I don't think that would be my first choice. Ronnie Moore says, seeing as iso alcohol is nigh impossible to come by thanks to the Rona, would it be possible to use 190 proof grain alcohol in lieu of iso? Would there be any differences, say, for paint drying a bit quicker? Yeah. The 190 stuff, or not the 190, the alcohol for drinking has sugar in it. It's made with sugar. That's how they make it. They ferment the sugar, and the sugar turns to alcohol. What you're going to want to use if you can't find iso is this right here, denatured alcohol. It's the same thing. It's just alcohol, and they added a thing to it to make it to where you're not going to drink it because it'll make you sick and it tastes terrible. But that's exactly what that is. So if you can't find iso, denatured works just fine. It's considered an alcohol fuel. You can find it in any hobby store. Maybe camping stores and stuff like that too. Actually, some lanterns take it in place of kerosene. Actually, come to think of it, kerosene might work too. The white gas kind. Might try that someday. That would be very, very flammable though, more so than alcohol. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's see. There's a little bit of comments joking about not using Everclear. Big and Tall 666 says, don't mix the paints in the color cup. Mix externally and filter through pantyhose material. No lumps, no grains. More fun time. Yeah, absolutely, Big and Tall. Don't mix the stuff in the cup. The only time I mix in the cup is if I think I got it good, and then I didn't, and then I'll pour some more alcohol or something in there, and then I'll do the deal where you hold your finger over it and make it bubble through. But yeah, generally speaking, don't mix it in the cup. especially not acrylics. They're thick. It'd be almost impossible to mix it in there. Abby Shea, I think, says my only concern is near fire. Would it explode? I don't know. I don't think it would explode because an explosion is a compressed fire. There's no compression going on. If you're just spraying alcohol, it would at worst be like spraying hairspray over a lighter, that kind of effect. I don't know why you're worried about fire. You're painting near your fireplace or while you're smoking. Maybe don't do that. As far as would the machine explode though, it really shouldn't, because the way this thing works is there is a hole. Where's the hole? There's a hole right here, right by the charging port. You can't really see it in the camera, but it's there. That hole is where the excess air comes out. So say you have it turned on, right? So it's on right now. You can plug it up completely, and it's not going to do anything. It's just the compressor. So, and you can also, you can hear it. So yeah, even if this thing's completely plugged up, the compressor is not going to explode. But yeah, if you're talking about the alcohol near fire, that I don't know. I wouldn't do that. Eric Anderson says your glitter paint will go through your brush just fine. Just reduce it a lot. Okay. I still haven't tried that. I still don't really want to try it because cleaning that thing out is a gigantic pain in the butt. So, yeah, I might give it a go. I still haven't tried it though. This guy says, great video. How long you use the airbrush? Is it any good for primer and base coat? Yeah, absolutely. That's mostly what I use it for, actually, is primer and base coat. Use like a grayish, like a medium gray first, and then use I think it's called titanium white over top for that like sort of zenithal effect. And then if there's any sort of large color blocks, like that, I don't know where it is. But anyway, the pitchfork guy I did, he's wearing a green shirt and there's no other real detail on it, so you can just green the whole shirt. It will overspray a little if you're not careful, but yeah, that is what I use it for, base coating and priming. And how long have I used it? Over a year at this point. It's working pretty good. So Jay says, would you consider doing a video about your airbrush and tiny compressor, where to get them, what you think of it, how well it works for you, etc.? Does the vibration of the compressor affect your ability to do detailed work? I have a really limited hobby space, so something like that looks cool and ideal. Yeah, I did do a review video on the airbrush. I might actually have to redo that one too, because it's been a while, almost a year at this point. Yeah, the brush is great. It works really good. It is not loud at all. Here, that's the loudest it is. The vibrating, it doesn't really vibrate. I wonder if I could get like water or something to show you, like the Jurassic Park thing with the water shaking on the T-Rex steps. But yeah, it does vibrate some, obviously, because it's a compressor, but I don't even notice it. It's less than an electric toothbrush in noise and vibration. So thank you for sharing these tips and secrets. Everyone makes it seem like it's super complicated, but you made it easy to understand. You're welcome. Yeah, it's not complicated. There are different nozzles you can get that'll make it spray like a fan brush or a fine stream or that kind of thing. And there's lots of tips and tricks and methods for thinning and color blending and all that stuff. That's more involved than I get into with it, because it's not the kind of thing that I typically do. I mentioned him before, but Miniac, his channel goes way in depth into that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's not really all that difficult to do. Chaos 7 says, I don't understand what you put in airbrush. Sorry, my English, I'm Italian. And then Abel G responds in Italian. So thank you for that, Abel. But yeah, I'm putting alcohol and water and paint in about equal parts, more or less. I adjust it depending on the paint, but yeah, just alcohol and water. Small Princess, how long has this airbrush lasted you? I want a portable airbrush, but I don't want to waste money on it to stop working in the short term. Yeah, I definitely get that. A lot of the overseas brushes are terrible quality, and I guess this one, compared to say a Badger or a Patriot, one of those Iwata, this would be terrible compared to them. But this has lasted me a very long time, and I use it on pretty much everything I do. Because I use it for the base coat, the priming, and then I'll use it to spray on washes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, this one has lasted a very long time. I'm actually kind of surprised. I expected it to die a lot sooner. Pandu Sarijadi says, mine quit working after just a day. Should have, or yeah, Should have used some demineralized water instead of just alcohol. Alcohol dries so fast it clogs the nozzle. Yeah, you have to use water and alcohol. If you use straight alcohol, it will dry before it even gets to what you're painting, or it will dry in the brush, which is not what you want. If yours quit after a day, though, I don't know. It's short of some kind of ridiculous misuse, and that doesn't sound like it to me. It seems like the brush itself was kind of screwy, so I would definitely get on Amazon and ask for a replacement for that. This person here, I'm not gonna butcher your name. Says, can we use it for painting any object like steel, plastic? Please tell me. Yeah, you can use it on anything really, as long as the paint's gonna stick to it. It'll work. For steels and plastics, you're probably gonna need to scuff up the surface a little bit. Use like a fine-ish grit sandpaper and just give it a little brushing, just so the paint has something to stick to, but don't like scratch it, because you'll see that through the paint. This paint, is it, William Martin says, this paint, is it durable like car paint? No, not at all. Acrylic paint is like a cheap hobby paint. It's not durable like car paint. Car paint tends to dry very, very hard, and it'll chip off. Or you get the kind that'll flex with the flexible car panels. But yeah, still, car paint's really durable. Acrylic's not. You can make it that way if you clear coat it, but on its own, acrylic is not durable as car paint. No. Again, what percentage of alcohol do you use? Any, it doesn't matter. Just use some alcohol. All you're trying to do with the alcohol is thin out the paint. There are several comments saying thanks for the video. You guys are welcome. West Sinkovic says, I tried this and it clogged up the nozzle very quickly because the alcohol dries fast. Yeah, you have to use half water and then half alcohol in paint. If it's drying too fast, you need to reduce the amount of alcohol or add more water. And it doesn't matter what percentage of alcohol. The higher percentage, the faster it will dry, of course. But just adjust your ratios. There's some back and forth here. Zach Nafin says, I do this and just add a drop of glycerin to keep it from drying out. That's actually a pretty good tip there, Zach. Thanks for that. I might actually try that myself. Bo Long says, this works really good on plastics. Could you show a video doing that? Yeah, every video where I'm painting a mini, I'm using it on plastics because all the minis are plastic. Well, some of them are resin, but yeah, they're all plastic. I use plastic pieces in my builds. So watch any of the other videos. If any video where I'm using this, I'm spraying it on plastic. It's critical. Says, dude, this is awesome. Thanks for sharing. Do you have to use 91% or will any do? Any will do. And that's like the number one question, the alcohol. Any alcohol will do, guys. Seriously. Sir Deathfid's interesting tip. Is that a more expensive airbrush since it doesn't need a compressor with it? No, this one's really cheap. Mine was like $35. I think the price went up to $50-ish because the whole lockdown thing. People are bored, so they're buying hobby products, so prices went up. 406 Lug User Group, that's my buddy Mike. He says, small nuts work in the bottle to aid in mixing in lieu of a ball bearing. Yep. Grey Wolf responded he uses BBs, or they use BBs. Crafter's Forge says they use marbles. Yeah, so anything small enough to shake around in the bottle will work just fine. The only thing is I don't know how metal reacts with acrylic paint, so I use glass marbles just to make sure there's no issues. It may not do anything, so I mean, give it a shot. If it ruins the paint, it was 50 cents. Who cares? Overboard DM Cujo wants to know, where is your air compressor? When's that little thing run out of air? I don't know if he's trolling me or not, but yeah, Cujo, this little thing is the air. It's not compressed. This is the compressor. There's a little charging port right there that comes with the charger. You plug it in, it runs out of air when it runs out of batteries, which is 2 or 3 hours worth of use, something like that. It actually lasts a pretty good amount of time. Save or Die Hate says, you probably already know this, but a spray bottle of water is really handy for color changes. Yeah, for spraying into the thing and mixing it, or to clean it out. Also, in between, like if you're trying to do like a color gradient, you can use a little bit of water and alcohol in between. Like, so you got like red here and I don't know, orange next to it like that, because like you're trying to do a fire or something, right? You can put, hold this up. You can put a little bit of water in the gap area between the two colors, and they'll blend together really well. So yeah, a little spray bottle full of water, maybe a bit of alcohol in it. That definitely is useful. Another name that I cannot pronounce says hadn't considered using alcohol for this. Good tip, but we'll have to wait until after the things calm down, as you can't get alcohol right now. Any info about that airbrush? So for info about the airbrush, there's a video. There we go. Yeah, there's a video up here that I do a review on. I may update that one. I'm not sure. As far as the alcohol, yeah, you can use the denatured alcohol fuel. That works totally fine. I have not tried kerosene, but I kind of want to now, even though that's going to be crazy flammable. Andrea Zaltron says you can use red alcohol. You can find it in any store and it's cheaper. It worked for me. I'm not sure what red alcohol is. That could be the denatured stuff. It's not going to be kerosene because kerosene is white gas, so I don't know what that is. And I don't see the comment in here anymore, but I know it was asked because I was looking for the pieces because I didn't know what I did with them. Somebody had asked, can you hook this airbrush to a standard compressor? Yes. In the box, there's this little baggie right here, right? And it's got little wrench and a little thing goes on top or underneath the brush somewhere on here. I don't know, I haven't used it. But anyway, yeah, it does have an adapter to hook it to a regular compressor if you wanted to do that. It does come with that. So yes, you can hook it to a regular compressor. That works totally fine. What else was there? As far as the noise level, I already showed it, but I'll do it again. It's all the more noise it makes. It's really pretty quiet. The air always comes out. You can't stop that, and then the little trigger makes the paint come out of the pot. Somebody had asked somewhere if I had issues with it. That's the only issue you might have seen me messing with the power switch here. Is sometimes I'll push the power switch and nothing happens for a second. You just kind of flick it and it'll work fine. I don't know, cheap product, but hey, it works. What are all these adjustments? This thing controls how far the trigger goes back. You unscrew this deal. This is your keeper nut to hold the needle in. You're going to want to unscrew that, pull the needle out whenever you need to clean this whole thing. Just be careful not to bend the end of the needle. And then also when cleaning it, squeaky. Also when cleaning it, you're going to want to either take the needle out completely or pull the trigger back to get it out of the tip here so that you can get a little piece of paper towel or a Q-tip and clean inside this nozzle, because whatever paint color you were spraying is going to paint the entire inside of this thing. And you can also unscrew this one and change it out for a different shape if you want to. You can unscrew this one, which is the thing that keeps the needle in line. There's a few adjustments. It's not really complicated. This brush is very, very simple. And the goofy little handout that comes with it. Where is it? It's on here somewhere. It actually explains all this stuff pretty decently. So hopefully it answers your questions. I said I had actually gone through the comments as they come up and try to answer them, when they come in, so people aren't waiting 8-9 months for an answer, because I hate that when I comment something on somebody's video. They're like, oh, you got any questions? Let me know in the comments, and ask a question, and I never hear a response. Don't be one of those guys. But anyway, yeah, I try to answer as soon as you guys comment, but sometimes YouTube doesn't tell me. I don't see it. Or maybe in a couple of these, maybe my opinion changed a bit. That's a possibility too. So hopefully that does answer all your questions. And if you guys can find one of these, it doesn't matter if it's Road Tech or any other brand, just as long as it looks like that. This is actually a pretty decent airbrush for what it is. And if you wanted one that does different things, as finer sprays or shapes, whatever, I've seen a few of these that come in a kit. It's still got the little micro compressor and the brush that looks like this in the picture by itself without the thing under it. And it'll have like a little box in the background. There's a whole bunch of different tips in there. That kit might actually be what you're looking for, because it's got more things it can do. Although with these ones, the only thing is the air is always going to be flowing. You can't adjust the air. So that's the only hang up for a lot of people that want to get like serious into airbrushing. For my purposes, this works great. So with this long, rambly video done, suppose I will go ahead and get back to doing this. And if you guys have any questions, let me know and I'll answer them. For real, I'll answer them. I'm not going to be one of those guys that says that and never answers you. If you got any questions, let me know. I think I maybe covered everything. This video is a little unorganized, but I thought it might be kind of fun to do one that's just sort of off the cuff and going through the comments like I would if I were just sitting at my computer looking at them. So, of course, as always, thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.